learns to recite the words and have no idea what it says. And please don't think that this is what this means, because, one could say, well, maybe I don't even need to memorize it. I can just keep a tape recorder, right? Have a tape recorder, these first 10 verses, just carry it with me. Anytime the Dajjal comes, I take out my tape recorder, right? No, it doesn't work like that. Right? This is not something which we do in this ritualistic kind of form, that the Quran in its recitation is like, magic. You have this magic wand of the magicians, etc., that we carry it around with us. We just got to bring it out, turn it on, and defeat the enemy type of thing, right? No. It is about reciting it based on belief. What the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf address, we should reflect on the meanings that are there, which address, issues of sincerity of belief. Talking about the people of the companions of the cave and the trials that they went through and how they were firm in their belief. This is what we should reflect on when we recite these verses. And of course, we are encouraged to recite Surah Al-Kahf every Jum'ah. Thirdly, we should use that dua which the Prophet ﷺ taught us, which he taught us like a chapter from the Quran. Each and every one of us is no excuse, no reason why that should not be a part of our daily prayers. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhabi jahannam wa adhab al-qabr wa min fitnat al-mahya wal-mamat wa min sharri fitnat al-masih ad-dajjal. We should know it, and we should use it, and we should reflect on it. Seeking refuge in Allah from the trials of this world, of this living and dying, of the trials of the grave, which we will face, and from the major trial of the false Christ. Furthermore, we should be frequent in our remembrance of Allah. We should be frequent in our remembrance of Allah, and we should know who Allah is. In that Prophet ﷺ said, Dajjal will be blind in one eye, and you will not see your Lord in this world, in this life. So you should not be under any kind of delusion. If your concepts, your understanding of Allah are clear and true, you cannot be deluded that this person could be God. Because, as the Prophet ﷺ said, you will not see Allah in this life. So anybody who comes, no matter what he does, he appears to bring people to life, he brings your parents back, he caused the sky to rain, the earth to bear fruit. This is not Allah. He's doing things that we normally attribute to Allah by the will of Allah, but this is not Allah. So it is important for us to know who Allah is and that we remember Him. Dhikrullah. This should be on our tongues all the time. Remembering Allah. Not remembering Him again in the ritualistic fashion, which unfortunately we do at the end of our prayers, where we sit there and we do what Prophet ﷺ said to do, mentioning Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, Allahu Akbar 33 or 34 times, depending on the narration. But the way that we do it, some people who accepted Islam and first came into the mosque, learned how to pray, and they observed Muslims after prayer, they came back to me and they asked me, what is it that Muslims are doing after the prayer? We see that the prayer is over and their hands seem to be shaking like they have some kind of, cerebral palsy or something, some kind of Hodgkin's or Parkinson's. Their hands are shaking like this. What are they doing? I explained to them, actually they're saying Subhanallah, Subhanallah 33 times. But people are saying it how? Subhanallah. So they're doing like this and their hands are moving like this, like they're, This is not remembrance of Allah. Let us not fool ourselves. This is not remembrance of Allah. Better we say Subhanallah one time, Alhamdulillah one time, Allahu Akbar one time, reflecting on its meaning, than to go through that, chattering of our lips and our tongues without any meaning at all. It is an affront to Allah. It is a disgrace. We need to re-establish the remembrance of Allah in our lives according to the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this includes all of the various du'as which he gave us in the morning, in the evening, when we leave our homes, when we enter our homes. For all of the various occasions, he has given us various supplications which help us to remember him. Fifthly, we should flee from him. Though I described a young man who would challenge Dajjal, and the Prophet ﷺ referred to him as the greatest of the martyrs in the sight of Allah. This doesn't mean that when you hear Dajjal is over in such and such a place, you're going to go take him on. No. 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 We should flee from him. When the trial of Dajjal comes, you hear he's in one town, flee. If you can get to Mecca or Medina, try to get there. Or whatever, wherever you hear he is, try not to be there. Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, which are found in the Sunan Abi Dawood, whoever hears about Dajjal should go far away from him. By Allah, a man will come to him believing that he is himself a true believer and end up following him due to the doubts which he created in him. This is the point. Don't think that we are strong, we can stand before Dajjal. No. Prophet ﷺ's advice is get as far away from him as possible. So, this is a reminder to you. And it is your duty to pass that reminder on. That people get the correct information about Dajjal. That we're not fooled that he is the American Bill, with that pyramid with the big eye there. People say, oh, that's Dajjal. It's America. Or we don't get fooled that, he and his forces will be the United Nations, because there's some inauthentic narrations which say that the followers of Dajjal will have blue caps. So they say, hey, there's the United Nations. Dajjal. No. We should know the truth about Dajjal, who he is, what he represents, and be prepared for him. In our preparation for dealing with Dajjal, we are preparing to deal with the trials of this life in general, because the preparation is not unique and special, that it has no relevance to the other trials that we face in this life. So with that, my brothers and sisters, I'd just like to close this brief presentation on Dajjal. It is my duty to have conveyed this message to you, and it is your duty, for those of you who have heard and understood, to convey it to others, to your children, if and when you have children, to your parents, if they're ignorant, and to all those that you can. But as I said, you convey it in a sensible fashion, not with your own personal interpretations, turning Dajjal into what he is not. So we give you a chance at this point to ask any questions you'd like to ask. And of course, we'd like to keep the questions related to the topic, because I know there's a common practice in some of the universities here that, you can come and talk about anything, right? And as soon as you finish talking about it, somebody jumps up and asks you, well, how do we establish the Khilafah? Hey, we can have a talk about establishing the Khilafah, and that's a talk, and that's the place for that question, But otherwise, let's try to keep the questions, reasonable. It's not about, I'm going to try to push my ideas and my thoughts down everybody's throat. Everybody needs to hear about this. Well, inshallah, we have heard about it, and inshallah, we do support the struggle to reestablish the Khilafah. And this is just an example. I'm just saying there are other ideas out there that people get very excited about, and they feel that they must have everybody hear these ideas, and everybody must agree with them and must follow these ideas, etc., etc., etc.